In the Subway Archaeology series, I look for wayfinding and roll signs with train designations that no longer exist or destinations that are no longer accurate. Then I put these signs into historical context based on that outdated information and try to figure out how long each sign has been hanging around the subway system. And we're going to start with something extraordinary on the 4 train. Boop, boop, chicka, bow, bow, bow. I am on vacation, so here is a compilation of me looking for signs in a bunch of subway stations. On January 17th, 18th, and 19th of 2026, something crazy happened. The 4 line borrowed 4 R62A train sets from the 6 train yard, and one of them was signed up with a magenta 4 bullet. So on October 19th, I hit the rails and spotted every R62A 4 train on the line. And to my disappointment, the magenta 4 was not to be found. Then I saw that R32J train official had sent me this message 2 hours earlier. So frustrating. I waited on this freezing platform for 2.5 hours for a train they apparently took out of service. But I did see a couple of bullets we'll talk about. Besides, I've shown you where you can see a sign with the magenta 4 at Bowling Green on my very first Subway Archaeology video. And I'm kinda glad I didn't see the magenta 4, I guess, because honestly, I don't know what to make of it. It looks authentic, but R62A trains began revenue service in 1984, but the magenta 4 bullet was fired in 1979. That timeline doesn't math. There's an argument to be made that car 1655 was one of the first R62A train cars delivered and was fully assembled by Kawasaki rather than Bombardier, but whatever, I'm not here for that. These pictures and stills are from other railfan channels, so go watch their videos on their channels and support the foamers who are fortunate enough to see this 4-train oddity. But do that later. Right now, here are some secrets that I found. With help from you, of course. Here's a closer look at the 6 Express. Let's start with this little roll sign I saw with both an Express and a local 7 bullet. So we can talk about the R62A and the 7 Express and the 7 local, if you want, just a little bit. Now I know what you're thinking, these bullets aren't technically fired, and you're right, both Diamond and regular 7 bullets are obviously still in service. But the 7-train fleet is currently all R188, and this R62A rolling stock was fired from the 7 line years ago. In fact, in my All Trains 2017 video...
And here comes our 7 train. That is a old-fashioned 7 train.
I think I captured footage of me riding the very last R62A train set on the 7 at Grand Central.
7 train, 7 train, 7 train, 7 train to Grand Central, where we're going to transfer to 6.
Ah, memories. Back to current year, I also spotted this little side roll sign that looks like a foamer with a roll sign key turned to 7 for fun. Or maybe the MTA employee in charge of changing the roll signs was just like, whatever, and didn't do this one. Or did it on purpose. Anyway, it's kinda cool to see a full 7 bullet on an R62A train again. That's all. This is a 6 train, by the way. Next on R62A train day, we have this blue 6 train bullet. What? A blue 6? That's right. So a number of you have talked about this blue 6. In the comments of one of my TikTok videos, somebody pointed out car number 2126 and one of the most elusive bullets in the entire New York City subway system. One might even call it a ghost bullet, because this 6 is fading away. That's just a paper 4-screen 6 that's really faded. It's just a bad paper print of a hunter green 6 bullet where some of the ink has faded and makes it look like it's blue. You can tell by looking at the edges of the bullet. They're blotchy and jagged, not smooth like a proper roll sign print. I can't tell you when this was installed, but it looks like it was a full roll sign replacement. I wonder if the sign can even be rolled to another bullet anymore. Anyway, the 6 was never blue. That's not a thing. And it's been green since well before this rolling stock was in revenue service. I guess whomever replaced this roll sign was like, whatever, good enough. I just have one more thing to say about these R62A trains on the 6 line. Each car has 2 6-train strip maps inside, And all of these strip maps still say you can transfer to the M at 51st Street. We all know the F and M swapped places in and out of Queens on December 8th, 2025. So now you transfer from the 6 at 51st Street to the F train, not the M train. I don't know if the MTA just haven't gotten around to putting little stickers over these tiny bullets, or if they're just like, whatever. Why bother? Foamers will peel them anyway. They really should replace the entire strip map in each train, and I don't know when they're going to do that, if they do. Okay, so that's all for my non-magenta forcing R62A adventure. For our next fired bullet, let's go deep into Brooklyn, almost to Queens, at the Van Siclen Avenue C train stop on the Fulton line. I was told there might be a CC bullet here, and there might be, but I couldn't find it. I found this. That's definitely two C's side by side. So I changed course here. Got a partially peeled sticker here so you can get a better look at, sort of. I discovered that all 4 of the signs at each of these surface entrances have a hidden A bullet on them. Clear as day, it just says C, but if you look closely, you can see that the C is over an A, and the C right here is blacked out. So this used to say AC. And 2 of them are obstructed, so when it came time for the MTA to cover them, they were like, whatever. Nobody can see it anyway. But only the C train stops here now. So how old is this sign where the A and the C are still featured on a Van Siclen Avenue sign? Let's piece it together. The CC used to stop here, of course, but the MTA eliminated all double-letter bullet designations back on May 6, 1985. So, since these signs all contain single-letter bullets, they can't have been installed before then. But while both the A and the C were local and stopped here at Van Siclen Avenue in 1985, the C was a diamond bullet and only stopped here during rush hours, while the A train ran express and skipped this station during rush. And the C trains were even designated as a diamond bullet on the train, so I would have to assume that the entrance sign would also have a diamond C. So let's see when the C became a circle. In 1988, the MTA fired the K train in Manhattan and made the C train all local in Brooklyn and Queens, but only between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. weekdays. So, since the C bullet only became a circle at this station in 1988, that gives these signs a maximum install age of about 38 years. Now we can use the A bullet on the signs to determine a minimum age. While the C train stopped here at Van Siclen weekdays from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., the A train ran express past this station. But outside of those weekday hours, only the A train stopped here. So, even though both A and C bullets are on this sign, only one of them served this station at a time. It wasn't until May 1st, 1999, that C service started making all stops in Brooklyn every day during daytime. And the A train started running exclusively express except overnight. That's the route we know today. That means 27 to 38 years old is our base, and I have to say, it looks like an original install from 38 years ago. It's pretty old. Just for fun, I checked Google Maps, and in 2022, the black stickers covering the A weren't even here. It still said A and C. Van Siclen was scheduled to get a renovation years ago, but then it got canceled and now it's back on the current capital plan, so we'll see how that goes. But for my last demonstration of the MTA being like, whatever, about sign replacement, I'll need to go to 50th Street on the 9 line. The 1 line. I came here looking for an alleged 1/9 bullet that I thought was spotted here a few months back. But then I realized that I had read the comment by Holzman00 wrong. He was talking about this little hidden gem. I went over the 9 train in the first Subway Archaeology video. Oh, you didn't know there was a 9 train? But I only sort of glossed over it. I was kind of surprised that it used to stop here at 50th Street, so I wanted to dive a little deeper into its short history. Now, like I said in the first Subway Archaeology video, between 1989 and 2005, the 9 train interlined with the 1 train from South Ferry to Van Cortlandt Park, 242nd Street in the Bronx. But what I didn't say is that it only operated between 6:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. And skip stop service only started north of 137th Street because people didn't want 125 to be skipped, and because the 2 and 3 already provided express service up to 96th Street. And by September 1994, the 9 train only skipped 4 stations anyway: 157th Street, Dyckman Street, 215th Street, and 238th Street, and only during rush hours. So the utility of the 9 train was always suspect. All that is to say, 50th Street here could only ever be a non-skip stop station. Now this is the backside of this sign, but this sign is a bolt-on. So I guess the sign under it has a 9. The 9 was fired on May 27th, 2005. But when they discontinued the 9, they couldn't get to the sign behind the billboard, and so they couldn't uninstall it, so they just bolted something over it. And that's when this outer sign had to have been screwed onto the one behind it. The funny thing is, the other signs around here are just regular signs. But the original sign had to have been installed at the beginning of 9 train's short life in 1989. So the hidden 9 bullet here at 50th Street will be 37 years old this year. So it's a mystery to me why the MTA does some of the things they do to the signs, but it's pretty cool you can find that hidden 9. It is by far the coldest day of the year today, and I wasn't even planning on coming outside, but R32J train official sent me a message about a bullet I didn't even know existed. That is a 4 train over there. 4 train's doing weird stuff again this week because of construction, and they've got the R62As on it again.
Is a 4 train to Crown Heights, Utica Avenue. Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge.
And this R62A 4 train is about to show me something crazy. A Diamond 9. What in the heck? We all know the Circle 9 bullet that served skip stop service along the 1 line from 1989 to 2005. I already explained it more than once and showed you where to find it at the 50th Street entrance on the 1 line in my previous subway archaeology video. But what about the Diamond 9 bullet? How did I not know this existed? Was it ever used? If so, when was it fired? For the answers, we have to look at both the timing of 9 train service and the rolling stock this Diamond 9 is on. Let's start with the R62A and funding. Boring. Okay, real quick. The very first MTA capital plan authorized the purchase of 1,150 IRT subway cars. That's the number line. Kawasaki built the first 325 cars, the R62 train cars, and delivered them all by August 1985. Those right now run mostly on the 3. So there was a bidding war, Bombardier won the contract in building the additional 825, and here's the important part: the R62A trains were built between 1984 and 1987. Why is that date range relevant to this Diamond 9? Here's why. Even though the 9 train began service in 1989, plans were first announced in April of 1988. That means the MTA had to have time to create those plans before 1988. So the way I see it, there's about 2 years between when the R62A was built and when the final 9 train plans were released to the public. By this time, the MTA knew they would use the 9 bullet in the future, and so they had it installed in the R62A roll signs. But it was too early to know exactly what 9 bullet they would need, because in the 1980s, the MTA used diamond bullets pretty much exclusively to indicate rush hour only service. So they were like, are we doing this rush hour only? Will we have local service too? They didn't know exactly. And so they tossed the red Diamond 9 into the roll sign order to cover all 9 train possibilities. It only exists on some roll signs of R62A rolling stock, like this one. It was never fired because it was never hired. And it's about 40 years old, just like this train. There he is, the man who told me about it. Look, it's on the outside too. Actually, when they roll the signs, they roll simultaneously. Oh, all right, take care, man. Pound it. Bam. Now, let's talk about the Diamond Orange B. I've only seen this once. Patreon supporter Cubby8 pointed out that I had seen this diamond orange B bullet 2 years ago when I was attempting to do all trains Brooklyn. I looked into it, and honestly, I'm really surprised I had not seen it before or since. The diamond orange B had been a pretty prominent part of the system since orange was first used to indicate the 6th Avenue trunk line color in 1979. Remember, I said in the 1980s, diamonds were used specifically to indicate rush hour only service. Look at this 1979 map. Regular B service terminated at 57th Street, but rush hour diamond B service terminated all the way up at 168th Street. Okay, real quick, check out this crazy 1988 map. Because of Manhattan Bridge track closures, there was a yellow B and a diamond yellow B that went to Astoria, Queens. There was no regular service orange B, but the diamond orange B still ran rush hour service up to 168th Street in Washington Heights. But then, in 1988, the Diamond B was fired because the B ran both midday and rush hour service between 168th Street and Coney Island. So the MTA chose not to use the Diamond B bullet for a decade, except in this example of rush hour service on this 1997 map. Like, what? It's not even used anymore, and they're giving it as an example. Anyway, the Diamond Orange B was rehired for real March 1st, 1998. That's when the B and C switched northern terminals. This was done to reduce passenger crowding and confusion on the C line. As for the B, rush hour Diamond Orange B service didn't go to Washington Heights anymore. It followed the D line, terminating at Bedford Park Boulevard in the Bronx. But finally, in 2005, for whatever reason, the MTA fired the Diamond Orange B bullet for good. Rush hour B service still went to Bedford Park Boulevard, as it still does today, but the regular orange B bullet was used, not the diamond, and service was indicated on maps accordingly. The diamond B I saw was on this R68 rolling stock car number 2780. R68 trains entered service between 1986 and 1988. Over the years, much of the R68 rolling stock has been overhauled and roll signs were replaced, so you'll only find a diamond B on an R68 with an original roll sign. So this diamond orange B is roughly 40 years old, and like me, it's having trouble keeping focus. So blurry, bad shot. Okay, now I can tell you about this guy, the Diamond C bullet. I had been searching for this one for a while. I followed every lead. Gustavo Garcia on Patreon says there is something I should see in a closed passageway here at Fordham Road. I even did a whole video about how I finally found it, thanks to Patreon supporter Cubby8. It's on the R32 movie train. I had to use a good camera equipped with a long lens from a moving train through a dirty window just to get this shot in the Coney Island yard, so please excuse the quality of the picture. But let's take a minute to admire the destination roll signs that accompany the bullet. Bedford Park Boulevard, Bronx, to Rockaway Park, Queens. This bullet shot all the way through 4 whole boroughs, and that, fans, is why it's my favorite. So let's take a closer look. The Diamond C was born on May 6, 1985, because the MTA discontinued double-letter bullet indicators, so the rush hour Diamond CC service was renamed to just C. Much simpler. And the Diamond C provided rush hour service from Rockaway Park Beach 116 in the Rockaways through all of Brooklyn, then north through all of Manhattan to terminate at Bedford Park Boulevard in the Bronx. Those were the glory days of the rush hour Diamond C. It hit every real borough. Anyway, the glory of the 4-borough Diamond C bullet ended on December 10th, 1988, when the K was merged into the C, and both the K and the Diamond C were fired from all rolling stock. Strangely, the C still ran rush hour service between Bedford Park Boulevard and Rockaway Park until October 23rd, 1992. The MTA just didn't use the Diamond C to indicate that service. But for some reason, the Diamond C was still used on maps to indicate rush hour service to the Bronx until March 1st, 1998, when the B and C switched northern terminals in Manhattan and the C started terminating exclusively at 168th Street. And that's when the Diamond C bullet retired from all things MTA, except sometimes when there's a film or a TV show or a fashion show pop up, that takes place chronologically between 1985 and 1988, then this vintage R32 train rolls out the 4-burrow bullet to shoot through New York City once again. Glorious. Okay, now for a bonus, because I just did 3 rolling stock bullets. Let's do an actual sign and try to date it. The orange Q on this one is super weird and specific. In the same video where I finally found the Diamond C, I tried and failed to find the orange Q at West 8th Street, New York Aquarium. So when I did my little blizzard route, I checked again, and there it was. And they're correct, it's right there. But why? Why is there a sign with an orange Q here when the orange Q, while it existed, never officially stopped here? It terminated at Brighton Beach.
The sign is real. That's legit.
In trying to figure that out, I think I was able to date this sign to a very specific time frame. For some context though, we've been over the orange Q in multiple subway archaeology videos. That bullet was only used between 1988 and 2001. Then in 2001, the orange Q was replaced by the yellow circle Q and the yellow diamond Q bullet. But this specific sign, I think, is a mistake, but a mistake that was easy to make. Okay, so we know the sign had to have been installed only between 1988 and 2001. So first, let's go straight to this stop on a 1989 map. There. Not only does the orange Q terminate at Brighton Beach, like I said, the D train runs on the Brighton line all the way to Coney Island. So if this sign was installed in 1988 when the orange Q came to be, it would have an F and a D on it. But since it doesn't, that means the D train did not stop here when this sign was installed. So when did the D train move off the Brighton line to the West End line so it wouldn't have been included on this sign? February 22nd, 2004. But wait, if the D train was fired from this stop in 2004, and the orange Q was fired before that in 2001, there's no way this sign could have an orange Q on it without also having a D on it. Okay, so finally, here's what I think happened. Remember, the orange Q only existed because the Q ran along the 6th Avenue line, and that was specifically because of Manhattan Bridge reconstruction. And for about 6 months in 1995, from April 30th to November 12th, the Manhattan Bridge's north tracks closed during middays and weekends. And during these hours, all hours except rush hours, D train service was cut south of 34th Street Herald Square. And the Q train ran local along the Brighton line in Brooklyn to Coney Island. This is the only time the Q train ran to Coney Island while the orange Q existed. This period of time in 1995 was so confusing that the MTA couldn't fit all the weirdness on one single map. They had to publish 2 separate maps, one for rush hour and one for regular service. But check out this regular service map. The Q to Coney Island is yellow, not orange, because it ran along the Broadway line in Manhattan, through the Montague Tunnel with the R, and then via the Brighton line. So my conclusion is that this sign was made and installed between April and November of 1995, right in the middle of the years when the Q was orange. It had been orange for 7 years. It would be orange for another 6 years. So the sign maker put an orange Q on the sign instead of yellow because that's what color the Q was most of the time in 1995. So whether by mistake or just to avoid confusion, we have a sign here with an F and an orange Q and no D on it. That was installed 31 years ago. An alternative explanation would be that these are just 2 really good stickers and the F is covering a D and the Q is covering an F. And this sign was installed before 1988. But if I had just said that, the video would be too short and you wouldn't have learned as much. But that's my best guess. Maybe you have a better guess. What do you think? Leave in the comments below. In the neighborhood of Sunset Park in Brooklyn, there's a spot where you can find so many cool things from New York City's transit history.
5-star elevator.
It's the New York Transit Museum Archives. Hi, how you doing? Good to meet you. And I'm about to go full Antiques Roadshow on this roll sign. Except instead of assigning a value to it at the end, I'll attempt to guess which rolling stock this roll sign was pulled from based on the fired bullets displayed on it.
First things first is not to lose the tag that it's attached to. That's the object ID number, so that's how we can find it in our database.
This is Polly. Polly works here at the Transit Museum Archives, helping to, sort through all this stuff.
Help people find things, answer questions.
Where else do I know you from?
Transit Museum social media. I also lead some tours, some virtual
The
tours.
tours of City Hall.
That's right.
Polly doesn't know my conclusion yet, so at the end of this video, you, me, and her are all going to find out if I am correct what rolling stock this roll sign was pulled from. Am I a foamer or am I a failure? Let the games begin. First, let's look at the roll sign in its entirety so we can see everything featured on it. So the first thing you'll notice is that the first bullets aren't really bullets, they're just white letters on a black background. That's because this part of the roll was made before colored service labels like the blue A and orange B and such we know today were created. These service labels are interesting, but they're not bullets. But as we get further down in the scroll, there's an addition to the roll sign. And suddenly, it's like we've entered the land of Oz. We're in full, vibrant Technicolor. But none of these bullets match anything we see in the system today. The colors, the letters, they're all off. That's because these were part of the very first set of colored service labels brought into service by the New York Transit Authority November 26, 1967. The very first colored bullets. 1967. It was an important year for the subway system. Phase 1 of the Christie Street connection opened, adding an important and versatile connection between the independent subway system, the IND, and the Brooklyn Manhattan Transit Corporation, the BMT. 1967 is the year it all came together. So this addition to the roll sign had to have been created no earlier than 1967, but also no later than 1979 when the MTA switched to the trunk line labeling system. Those are the numbers, letters, and colors we know today. Now that we have a time frame for when the roll sign was modified into its current form, let's go through all the bullets on it to try and really narrow down the manufacture year so we can better guess which rolling stock this roll sign was pulled from. Starting with the Black B. The B train route back in 1967 wasn't so different from the B now. It started at 168th Street in Manhattan, followed the 8th Avenue line south, switched to the 6th Avenue line, crossed the Manhattan Bridge into Brooklyn, but instead of traveling via Brighton line like it does today, it used the West End line to get to Coney Island. That's today's D train. The Black B bullet lasted from 1967 to 1979, same age as this roll sign edition, so that doesn't really offer any clues to narrow down the date. But while I'm at it, there's one more bullet on this roll sign that lasted all the way from 1967 to 1979, just like the Black B, and that is the Green RR. This Green RR train used to be the default route up to Ditmars Boulevard. It would run along what is today's End Line into Manhattan, then south from 57th Street 7th Avenue to Whitehall Street, through the Montague Tunnel into Brooklyn, then south to Bay Ridge along the 4th Avenue line. Some RR trains would also travel directional rush hours to and from Chambers Street, connecting to the Montague Tunnel through Broad Street between Brooklyn and Manhattan. Also, not too far removed from the route today's R train travels. But now, we can start to narrow down the window of manufacture a little bit more, starting with this guy, the Orange EE. This was a weekday-only service, operating Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., that supplemented the E line along Queens Boulevard, starting at 71 Continental Avenue. But when it got to Queens Plaza, it followed the Green RR into and all through Manhattan to terminate at Whitehall Street. And fired 1976 when the N was extended to 71st Avenue and replaced the EE entirely in Queens. So, our time frame for this roll sign installation has narrowed by 3 years, anywhere from 1967 to 1976. Let's keep going with the QJ. The QJ started in Queens at 168th Street, Jamaica Avenue on the current Wait, this station doesn't even exist anymore. There's no 168 Jamaica Avenue. That's crazy, right? The station was a little north and east of Jamaica Avenue, Parsons Archer, where the J line terminates today. Anyway, in 1967, the QJ followed the same track the J train follows today into Manhattan and south to Broad Street. The QJ would pass through the Montague Tuttle connector at Broad Street and make its way all the way to Brighton Beach. Quite the journey. In 1968, it was even extended to Coney Island, but only on Mondays through Fridays, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. But in 1973, the QJ was fired and renamed to just J, and began terminating at Broad Street all times. And the J was a black bullet with a white letter, which is not here, which means the roll sign was from between 1967 and 1973. And just like that, 3 more years gone, down to a 7-year window of manufacture. Let's keep going with the blue KK bullet. 6th Avenue Local. So weird to see a blue bullet with a K that says 6th Ave. But anyway, the KK train wasn't one of the original set of 1967 bullets. On July 1st, 1968, the Christie Street connection to the Williamsburg Bridge opened, and the blue KK bullet was born. Operating during rush hours only, it supplemented the QJ from 168th Street, Jamaica, all the way through Queens into Manhattan. But once it reached Essex Street in Manhattan, it followed the 6th Avenue line north to terminate at 57th Street, 6th Avenue. But alas, the KK was fired and renamed to just K in 1973. That was at the same time the QJ was renamed to just J. And then the K was also truncated to terminate at Broadway Junction in East New York. Bam! And with that, we knock a year off the front. We're down to a 6-year window of manufacture between 1968 and 1973. Let's bring it home with this guy, the green MM. What even is this? Well, here's what the green MM bullet is. It's a ghost bullet, a provision. The green MM would have run along Myrtle Avenue and 6th Avenue as a supplement to Rush Hour KK. Anyway, it was not part of the original set of 1967 colored bullets. Perhaps it was proposed in 1967, but it wasn't installed into any roll signs until, drum roll please, 1969. April and July of 1969 to be precise. I suppose the MTA felt they needed to replace some service out of Metropolitan Avenue since the MJ ceased operations that same year as the Myrtle Elevated line was demolished. Yeah, that's this line. There used to be another route from Queens to Brooklyn that didn't go through Manhattan. Not anymore. So because this edition contains a green MM, we know this sign was manufactured in 1969. Now, all we have to do is look at the object record on nytransitmuseum.catalogaccess.com to see that the date of manufacture is March 13th, 1969 by TransSign LLC. I actually looked TransSign up, expecting them to be out of business, but they have a website and everything and still manufacture transit LED destination signs. Sick. But there's still one piece of the puzzle missing. I have to correctly guess what rolling stock this was pulled from. Am I a foamer or a failure? Let's find out. Okay, Polly, I am ready to hazard a guess on which rolling stock this roll sign was pulled from.
Okay.
All right. First of all, I can tell it was from an R32 type of roll sign with the 3 sections. You know, this would be on the inside, this would be on the outside. The problem is the R32 type wasn't the first type. The R16 had that. The R32 and the R38, they were all in service in 1969 when this was installed.
Okay.
And they all had that type of roll sign. So at first I thought maybe the original part of the roll sign is cloth, because the R16s originally had cloth roll signs.
Right.
And would they have attached Mylar to cloth? I don't know. But the R32s were the first signs to have fully Mylar roll signs. I'm not sure that helps that much because the R16s probably would have had them replaced also with Mylar.
Right.
But I like to go with the odds. So the R16s, there were 200 total cars in service.
Okay.
The R32s had 600 total cars in service, and the R38s had 200 total cars in service. That means that there's a 20% chance it comes from an R16,
Right.
a 60% chance it comes from an R32,
Right.
and a 20% chance it comes from an R38.
Right.
All these rolling stocks you have in the Transit Museum's fleet, in the train of many metals. But I don't think the Transit Museum acquired this directly. I think this happened. I think this was pulled from an R32 by, I don't know, maybe a maintenance person, somebody who works for the MTA or a contractor. In 1979, when they switched out all the roll signs in all the cars, when they switched to the trunk line labeling system, and whoever pulled it held it in their collection. They held it back, and they just sort of maybe snuck it out, I don't know, and given to the Transit Museum in 1995 by whomever or whomever's wife ended up with it.
We really don't know, right? We don't know how the person acquired the sign, but they gifted it
was
to,
a gift,
to
yes.
the archive in 1995. And I think that your guess, I'm just going to hazard a guess and say that I agree with you. I've seen an R16 roll sign, and yes, the cloth signs, I don't know. I think this is more likely from a later model of car. So yeah, I'm going to go with your guess.
Polly, everybody. So, you know, if you want to visit the Transit Museum archives and book some time, if you're doing some research, you can come here and look at stuff. They'll bring it to you to this table and you get to sit and just look at the stuff.
That's
and
right.
it's amazing.
That's right.
And also, the Transit Museum.
Yeah, we really want you to come and visit this year of all years because we're celebrating our 50th birthday, our 50th anniversary. We opened in 1976 and we have just so much happening this summer, new exhibitions, programs, nostalgia rides. So please come and spend some time with us.
And don't forget about the Parade of Trains in June.
Yeah, first weekend.
Thank you, Polly.
Thank
Appreciate you.
Of course, appreciate you back.
Huge shout out to the Transit Museum for agreeing to this collaboration. If you guys want to see more collaborations between me and the Transit Museum, you have to like this video and you have to watch it. If it doesn't perform well, I'm probably not going to do it again. In the meantime, leave your car at home. Take the train. I've been informed there is a sign that is just a gold mine for fired bullets. MTA Transport told me about these fired bullets we're about to see during last week's video premiere chat. Just take the B or Q to Kings Highway, walk to the southernmost station exit. Midwood used to be my neighborhood for about 8 years. So I know I'm pretty familiar with this Kings Highway station, but I have never seen what I'm about to see. And there they are. Crazy! There are 3 bullets on the sign, and we get to cover all 3 of them because they're all 3 wrong. And guess what? I know exactly, down to the year and month when this sign was installed. None of these belong here. So let's figure out when this sign was installed based on the fired bullets on it. Let's start with the D-train bullet. That doesn't belong here, right? We've talked about the D-train running on the Brighton line in a previous subway archaeology, but let's hit up the main history of this orange D bullet at this Kings Highway station. The orange D was part of the first set of colored route indicators the MTA created in 1967. And in 1967, the D train served the Brighton line. Since Kings Highway is an express stop, the D train always stopped here, regardless of local or express status through the years, while it was on the Brighton line. But on April 26, 1986, because of the Manhattan Bridge North Tracks closure, the orange D was fired from this station, replaced by a yellow D. The D was split in 2. The orange D still existed in Manhattan, but because this section of the D train used the Broadway line to enter Brooklyn, it was designated yellow. Then on December 11th, 1988, the north tracks of the Manhattan Bridge reopened, and the D went back to being one continuous 6th Avenue orange bullet traveling local on the Brighton line here. But on July 22nd, 2001, the D line was cut in Brooklyn again and permanently fired from this Kings Highway station. Because when full service was finally restored on February 22nd, 2004, the D was moved off the Brighton line onto the West End line. So if we were just to look at the D bullet, this sign was installed between 1967 and 1986, or between 1988 and 2001. But that time frame is way too much, don't you think? You know what? Let's narrow it down a lot using the brown M on the sign. What the heck is a brown M doing at Kings Highway? This is amazing, because as many times as we've talked about the brown M, we've never talked about it on the Brighton line in Brooklyn. It was always on the 4th Avenue line or the Nassau line or whatever. As it turns out, the M train was fired from this station in April of 1986 because of a 6-month reconstruction project on the Brighton line that coincided with the North Tracks closure on the Manhattan Bridge. That's when the brown M was taken off the Brighton line and rerouted to the 4th Avenue line in Brooklyn. But when did the brown M start serving this Kings Highway station? Well, the M started service on this line in January of 1973, but back then the M was blue. But when the MTA implemented its new trunk line service label system in 1979, those are all the letters and numbers and colors we know today, the brown M was created and served this station. So, our new time frame is between 1979 and April of 1986. That's about a 7.5-year window, not bad, right? But I told you at the beginning of this video, I know exactly when this sign was installed. And that's because of the third bullet on here, the diamond Q. We've talked about it before, we see them all the time.
It's a Durkle.
But this particular diamond Q is special. It's different. And here's why. The diamond Q we've covered in every other subway archaeology video has always been the diamond Q that served the Brighton line, making express stops between 2001 and 2004 during the final phase of the Manhattan Bridge reconstruction. But on Patreon, Half Pint Ben the Gamer pointed out that there was a small window of time before the Manhattan Bridge reconstruction era where this bullet was used. You see, from 1979 to 1985, the diamond QB served the Brighton line during rush hours only, and that's how I know when this sign was installed. Because on May 5th, 1985, the MTA stopped using all double-letter bullets. The AA was renamed to K, CC became C, GG became G, RR became R, and the Diamond QB became the Diamond Q, taking over rush hour service along the Brighton line. When this sign was installed at Kings Highway on the Brighton line, the D train ran weekly express service but local all other times. The brown M ran weekday only service, and the Diamond QB had just been renamed to Q to run rush hour service on May 6th, 1985.
It's rare that you find a sign installation where all the bullets are wrong for that station.
And that's why I love this sign. It was installed in May of 1985 when the QB was renamed to Q, and less than a year later, April 1986, the brown M moved off the Brighton line and was fired from this station. So the sign was relevant for just 11 months between 1985 and 1986. Classic MTA. Another thing that I just love to hate about this.
So apparently these light covers have been removed. Now the fact that you can see through the backs of the signs means that these signs used to be backlit.
It was clearly designed to be a backlit sign, but instead of correcting the translucent panels on each side, the MTA just hung up the standard metal signs over it. No longer This is why we can't have nice things! This is easily one of my favorite subway archaeology finds. Thanks, MTA Transport. Okay, so that's it for this sign.
That's fun.
But that's not all the subway archaeology I got for you. There is way more stuff out there to look at. Let's go to Queens and meet up with
62nd Subway Station.
Oh, sorry.
I'm Giancarlo. And I'm Micah. And this is 62nd Subway Archaeology.
Forest Hills 71st Avenue is a super loud, super important station in Queens where the M and the R terminate and turn back toward Manhattan. But why does this pillar sign say 71 Continental Avenue? That's not the name of the station. It used to be, though.
There are 3 different sign types at this station with 3 different station identifiers. And we're going to attempt to put them in chronological order from newest to oldest. Starting with this one.
You can find 7 platform pillar signs that have the station's previous name on it. These look like older signs than the ones that read 71 Forest Hills, because on this 1997 map, you can clearly see the primary name is still 71 Continental Avenue. But by 2000, Continental Avenue was erased from the MTA maps forever, and we assumed the majority of the pillar signs reflected that. But then we looked closer and concluded that these few pillar signs that say Continental Avenue are actually newer than the majority of pillar signs that say 71 Forest Hills. That's because of the font, Helvetica, which became the NTA's standard typeface in 1989. So these Continental Avenue signs are likely replacement signs that were put here in maybe early to mid 90s before the station name changed. Anyway, on the other side of this pillar, the sign reads 71 Forest Hills.
Since this more closely matches the station name, one might think they're newer installations. You can tell these signs are much older because the font used is medium standard,
also known as Accidens Grotesque. Just look at the E and the S here. They have slanted ends or terminals, whereas Helvetica has leveled terminals. Medium Standard became the typeface for the entire system in 1967, well before Helvetica. But these signs were installed way later than that, probably in the late 1970s or early 80s, and the reason I know this is because of the oldest pillar signs in the station.
Between the two express tracks are these white porcelain signs with black writing that read Continental Avenue, Forest Hills. And they might date back to 1936 when the station opened, but we can't verify that for certain.
What we do know is that in 1973, a decision was made to phase out the white signs in favor of the black signs with white writing we see today.
Graffiti reasons. But check out this Douglas Grotjan photo from October 1976. The same signage you see on the track pillars today is on the platform pillars in this photo. Even the station sign above the bench is the old signage. So the MTA didn't get around to changing the signage here at Forest Hills 71st Avenue until at least 1977. And when they did swap them out, they changed them for the ones that simply read 71 Forest Hills.
So to recap, old, older, oldest.
Also, the G and the V used to stop here. This sign's from 2001.
Forest Hills 71st Avenue has a pretty crazy station layout. And we give it a rating of...
Nope, if you want to know what rating this station gets, you got to follow these guys on Instagram. 60-second subway. They're on a quest to visit and rate every single subway station in the entire system.
On the way home from Forest Hills 71st Avenue, I decided to do a little stopover here at Broadway Lafayette.
Because I've been informed there is a sign here that dates back to the Manhattan Bridge reconstruction era. About mid-platform on the Bronx-bound side of the B&D lines, you'll see this sign.
Now this isn't exactly a fired bullet, but this shuttle stop sign at Broadway Lafayette Streets is for the Grand Street Shuttle. This shuttle first ran for 3 months between August and November of 1984 between West 4th and Grand Street. Then, during the first phase of the bridge rehabilitation from April of 1986 to December of 1988, the 6th Avenue B and D trains couldn't cross into Brooklyn. The Grand Street Shuttle was extended to 57th Street, 6th Avenue, and named the 6th Avenue Shuttle. That's where the orange S came from. I talked about the weird history of the orange S in another video, but the 6th Avenue Shuttle and the Grand Street Shuttle were two different shuttles. Check out this map from October 2001. The Grand Street Shuttle only ran between Grand Street and here at Broadway Lafayette. One stop. That's all. But on December 16th, 2001, the V was introduced, the 6th Avenue Shuttle was discontinued, and the Grand Street Shuttle was extended one more stop to West 4th Street. Then on February 22nd, 2004, full service was restored to the Manhattan Bridge and the Grand Street Shuttle was fired. And while this sign isn't exactly in the best condition, my best guess is that it was installed for the 2001 version of the Grand Street Shuttle that ran between Broadway Lafayette and Grand Street. That's because of these quote-unquote temporary brackets that support the sign.
Not so temporary, I guess.
There's no sign of them having been painted over, so the paint job on this pole was done before the sign was installed. I don't know when this station was painted last, but 25 years ago seems like a more reasonable guess than 40 years ago. But wait, there's one more thing, a special bonus from last week's video. While I was waiting for that Express 6 last week, I discovered this, a green 10 bullet on this 6 train. I've kept an eye out for months now for any double-digit numbered bullets. Because I knew they were there, I just had never seen any of them. So I was pretty stoked when I stumbled onto this.
Okay, we got ourselves a fire bullet. We might have a subway archaeology. Car number 2122.
I also found an 8 bullet on the next car, but I've already covered the green 8 in a previous Subway Archaeology video if you're interested. And this green 10 is kind of like the green 8 in that it was never used, never put into service. Both the 8 and the 10 were installed specifically on R62A rolling stock sometime around 1989. That's when the 9 train also started service. The green 10 specifically was likely installed in case the MTA decided to use a completely separate bullet designation for express versions on the Lexington 5 line. For example, the green 8 would be Express 4 because 2x4 is 8, so the 10 would be Express 5 because 2x5 is 10, and the 12, well, I haven't seen a 12 yet, so I can't talk about it. But this roll sign was likely conquested to show this 10. That's when somebody with a stolen key turns the sign. And I don't condone that, but hey, there it is. And that concludes this Subway Archaeology video. I hope you liked it. These are a lot of work to put together, guys. So like, help me out and hit that like button and let me know if I should keep doing them. And also share the video because these Subway Archaeology videos don't perform as well for the channel as other videos. So if you want me to keep making them, make number go up. And leave your car at home. Take the 10 train.